the past few years have taught us anything, it's that when things get weird, certain items disappear fast. And it doesn't really matter what the crisis is either. When people feel like their comfort, safety, or routine are about to get disrupted, they panic. We all saw how quickly things like toilet paper, hand sanitizer, and even meat vanished in 2020, not because supply chains collapsed overnight, but because people bought everything that they could find out of fear. Now, the first thing to disappear in almost every crisis, no matter what it is water. It doesn't matter if it's a hurricane, a winter storm, or just a little boil water notice. The second people think that their water might go out, they flood into stores and grab every bottle and jug that they can find. Where I live in eastern Texas, this happens anytime that there's a threat of a snow or ice storm. So sometimes all it takes is like somebody tossing a red Solo cup with a little bit of ice in it into the road, and then everybody loses their minds. And it usually starts out with bottled water. People scoop up the big multi-packs first, and then they move on to individual 1-gallon jugs after that. While I don't like bottled water for daily use, I explained why in a video a few months ago, it can be good to have for short-term emergencies since it can help you extend how long your water storage will last, and it'll reduce how much you need to boil later on. But it won't be just water that'll sell out quickly. Other bottled drinks like Gatorade and Powerade tend to get scooped up pretty quick, followed by their powdered versions and other electrolyte mixes. Water containers won't sell out as quickly because they require a small amount of effort to use, but if things get really bad, they won't last for very long. Also, keep in mind that if people know that water's going out, you probably won't be the only one filling up your bathtub buckets and pots. So if things do start to go downhill, fill up what you can as quickly as possible. And then another water-related prep that'll sell out is filters and other purification methods. Sawyer minis and life straws are pretty inexpensive, so smarter folks will scoop them up if they can't find any water, along with water purification tablets. Bleach will be another thing that people will probably scoop up pretty fast, but if you're using it for water purification, be sure to get plain disinfecting bleach. It doesn't store for very long, but it can be effective at removing biological contaminants if you use it the right way. Granular calcium hypochlorite lasts a lot longer, but it has to be mixed properly and can be a challenge to store since it's so stinking corrosive. Then after water, the next thing that'll disappear in a crisis should surprise absolutely no one, and that's food. And when it comes to food, canned goods are usually the ones that get scooped up first. Even non-preppers know that they have a long shelf life and they require zero skill to prepare. Another reason why canned goods get scooped up so quickly is that since there's so many varieties, almost anyone can find at least something that they like. You can get canned meats like tuna, salmon, chicken, and beef, along with meals in a can like soup, chili, and pasta. Then, of course, there's side dishes like canned fruits and vegetables. Those are a part of most people's normal diets anyway, so they'll be some of the first things that they think of to buy. Now, if you're not sure which canned goods give you the most bang for your buck, I went ahead and put together the canned goods nutrition list that breaks down the most important nutrition information for the most common kinds of canned foods. It's free for anyone who signs up for my emails, and you can do that using the link in the description below. But canned goods aren't the only shelf-stable foods that'll disappear. Other easy-to-prepare foods like bowls of instant rice and instant mashed potatoes will go pretty fast. Even though they're designed to be microwaved, if somebody has a way to heat food or water, it won't be too hard to work around that. Then you've got dry goods, which are usually in the second wave to disappear. Things like white rice, dry beans, lentils, oats, and pasta. Those can store for years and can stretch out your meals a long way, but they do require more effort to prepare, so they may last a little longer than canned goods will. After that, canned and powdered milk also tend to fly off the shelves. They're useful for everything from drinking to cooking. Then peanut butter, almond butter, and canned nut mixes are great for calories and protein, especially when everything else is gone. And of course, people will buy perishable foods as well. Bread and fresh fruit and veggies will disappear really fast, and people also buy milk and meat hoping that their fridge or freezer doesn't go out. If you're a parent with young children, though, one of the scariest things will be how fast baby formula and baby food will disappear. So if you have a young child who relies on those, be sure to have a good backup supply. You don't want to be the person desperately trying to figure out how you're going to feed your hungry 4-month-old if there's nothing left. Also, be sure that you have food for your pets as well if you have those. Then after food and water disappear, the next thing people start grabbing is medical supplies, and the more serious the crisis, the faster they'll go. Back in 2020, you couldn't find masks, gloves, or thermometers for weeks. Then cold and flu season hit right on top of that, and you couldn't even get Tylenol or cough syrup. And that's not something that you want to deal with when you or your kid is running a fever and you're stuck at the house. But it doesn't even have to be a health-related incident for people to scoop up medications or first aid supplies. Illnesses and injuries tend to increase during disasters and other emergencies, so medical preps will always be in high demand. Over-the-counter medications like acetaminophen, ibuprofen, allergy relief, cold and flu meds, antacids, and anything else that people use regularly won't last long. Then prescriptions will be in even higher demand since they can be hard to get even during normal times. That'll only get worse if pharmacies get overwhelmed or if supply chains get disrupted. While many doctors aren't too keen on prescribing additional amounts for like emergency stockpiles, if you know a situation's developing, it may be worth at least trying to talk them into letting you refill a little early. Then first aid supplies will disappear fast as well. Those include simple band-aids, gauze, antiseptics, wound closures, and medicated creams. If people are expecting injuries or to be stranded at home for a while, they'll want to be able to take care of small things that could come up. After that, vitamins and supplements will get scooped up as well, especially things like vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc, and also general immune support stuff. People tend to use those quite a bit, and anyone that does will want to make sure that they don't run out. Then if there's a chance of like a nuclear threat from a potential conflict or a power plant issue, potassium iodide tablets can disappear quickly. Those flew off the shelves at the beginning of the Ukraine war, but with those, it's important to remember that they're only helpful for protecting your thyroid from radioactive iodine. They won't make your body impervious to all radiation or any nonsense like that. But once people have all their basic immediate needs taken care of, then they'll start worrying about fuel, and the first one to disappear will be gasoline. If a storm's on the way or there's any kind of supply chain disruption, gas stations will run out within hours. Almost everyone needs gas, whether it's for a vehicle, generator, or both, so it'll go pretty quick. You'll see lines down the street with people filling up cars and gas cans. After that's propane, and that includes both the 20-pound tanks and small 1-pound canisters for things like camp stoves or buddy heaters. Those will be in even higher demand during colder months where people will be running heaters or other kinds of equipment. So because of this, it's always a good idea to go ahead and top off your tanks at the end of summer or whenever you'll be taking a break from things like backyard cookouts, camping, or tailgating. Butane canisters for small backpacking stoves also sell out, especially in urban areas where people don't have large-scale cooking setups. And stores typically stock less of those than they do propane bottles, so be sure to get what you need ahead of time. Then firewood and fire starters go fast in rural areas, especially during winter storms or blackouts, and space heaters go quickly as well, especially ones that run on propane. And those are kind of funny because they tend to sit on shelves for months just gathering dust, and then they disappear as soon as people hear rumors of a snow or ice storm, and then after they get sold out, they might take several weeks or even like a month or so to get back in stock, so don't wait on those. During the summer, fans will get scooped up along with coolers and store-bought ice. Another thing that'll disappear is anything that has to do with power or lighting. If people are expecting widespread power outages, portable gas generators will be gone within hours. We've all seen the news stories of hardware stores running out and then people standing outside wondering how they're going to power their CPAP or some other device. Happens all the time. Solar generators may last a little longer, but stores tend to carry less of those since most folks buy them online. On the smaller side of things, batteries will disappear pretty fast as well. Those include AA's, AAA's, D cells, and 9 volts. Basically anything that folks can use for flashlights, radios, smoke alarms, and then even their kids' toys just to keep them happy and quiet. If you have a stockpile of those, be sure to rotate them and keep an eye on their expiration dates. USB battery banks and phone chargers probably won't last long either, especially with how attached everyone is to their devices nowadays. After that's flashlights, headlamps, and LED lanterns, because when the power goes out, the first thing people notice is how dark it can get. They'll scoop up the little cheapies first, and they'll start to buy the more expensive ones as options become more limited. Then there's candles, matches, and lighters. I personally try to avoid using candles for emergency lighting, but they've been a go-to backup for a very long time, so people still get them. Matches and lighters are always good to have those since they can be used to light camp stoves, heaters, fireplaces, or any other time that you need to start a fire. Emergency radios, especially the ones that have solar, crank, and battery power, are another item that disappear fast because almost everyone understands that being able to get weather alerts or updates without relying on cell towers is incredibly important. And finally, portable inverters and car to AC adapters may not last long but could stay on the shelves a little longer than actual generators. Less people think about them, which could be useful if you're desperate, and some of them are actually pretty capable when it comes to what they can run. The next group of items that'll disappear in a crisis is anything to do with hygiene and sanitation. The first thing to vanish, as we all know, is poop sheets, toilet paper. We saw it in 2020 and we've seen it again since during hurricanes and winter storms. Then paper towels and napkins are right behind them because they're pretty useful for just general cleaning and drying tasks. After that's hand sanitizer and disinfecting wipes or spray. Those fly off the shelves really bad during any sort of health scare. Wet wipes will probably go fast too, since they give people a way to keep themselves clean without using their water storage, and that's pretty stinking important. Folks will also scoop up everyday hygiene items like soap, toothbrushes, toothpaste, and feminine hygiene products. Then diapers and baby wipes will disappear almost instantly. We talked about formula earlier, but as a general rule, if you have a young child, assume that anything that you need to take care of them will not be available if things get bad, so go ahead and get what you need now. If people are expecting water utilities or trash services to go offline, they may also panic buy things like contractor trash bags, disinfecting bleach buckets, and other containers as well, along with any other items that they think could help keep their home at least somewhat clean. Next, we have tools, repair materials, and basic shelter supplies. One of the first things to disappear when a storm or major event is on the way is plywood. People use it to board up windows, patch holes, and even create makeshift barriers. But by the time most folks think to grab it, it's already sold out or doubled in price. So if you live in a storm-prone area, it's a good idea to buy what you need ahead of time and then just store it in a garage or shed. Don't wait for the weather guy to say Category 3 before you start looking for the stuff. Then tarps are another one that vanish pretty quickly. Those are incredibly useful for covering leaky roofs, broken windows, damaged sheds, or even creating quick shelter if you're forced to bug out. Plastic sheeting, the clear kind used for like painting or construction, is another thing that people tend to scoop up. It can be used to seal off rooms, cover furniture, or create microclimates during shelter-in-place situations. It also works well for temporary windows or vapor barriers in the winter. Then there's duct tape and zip ties. Duct tape can be used to patch a tent, fix a hose, seal up a vent, and a lot of other things. And when it comes to zip ties, I even had a friend one time who used a few to keep one side of their fiberglass bumper from hanging down. I can't remember what happened, but they used zip ties as a temporary fix. They can also be used to make all sorts of field expedient tools like pole saws. They're cheap, tough, and take up almost no space. And finally, don't overlook rope, paracord, and bungees. Whether you're securing a tarp, tying down gear, or rigging up a clothesline, they have hundreds of uses. After that, we have some miscellaneous and security items. One of the first things to fly off the shelves during any kind of crisis is ammunition. It doesn't matter if it's a pandemic, a natural disaster, or just people feeling uneasy about what might happen next. Freedom seeds disappear fast. Then if there's a fear of like a major conflict, gas masks will sell out quickly as well. They, along with filters for them, were in very high demand at the beginning of the Ukraine war. Then body armor can get harder to find if there is an area that experiences civil unrest or increases in crime. But one item that disappears in pretty much any crisis is cash. In a grid down situation or even just a temporary network failure, credit card machines and ATMs may not work. And if you need fuel, food, or last minute supplies, cash might be your only option. Because of that, people tend to hit ATMs and banks hard in the days leading up to a potential situation. But at the end of the day, if things get really bad, there won't be much rhyme or reason to the things that people scoop up. When folks think that they won't be held accountable for their actions, they'll go after everything, including TVs and designer shoes. So do whatever you can now to make sure you don't have to go out into all that craziness to get what you and your family need to survive. Now, if you want to see a more detailed look at what you need to do to survive a natural disaster, then click here. Or if you want to see stockpiling tips that can help you get the most out of your money, then click here. Thank y'all for stopping by. Y'all have a good one.